Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Here she goes. Great ass! And you got your head all the way up it. Say hello to my little friend.
Hoo-ah! Oh, yeah.
I'm the hand of Mona Lisa's skirt. I'm a surprise, Kevin. They don't see me coming.
Was it legal? Fuck legal. Am I a nice man? Fuck nice.
What do you want? Treacherous.
Ungrateful. They say terrible things about me in the nation. Fuck the nation. You want to be nice or you want to be effective?
What is this, Ethel? Halloween? You trying to scare me? Well, you're wasting your time because I'm scarier than you are any day of the week. So beat it, Ethel. Boo!
Hi all and welcome back to my Al Pacino retrospective review series, the only review series on YouTube covering every single project and movie that the great man Al Pacino has ever appeared in. I'm your host Jeff 11 Bronson as usual, and today's episode we're going to be taking a look at the 2004 HBO miniseries, epic miniseries, Angels in America. Directed by the great Mike Nichols and starring of course Al Pacino along with an all-star cast including Meryl Steeep, Emma Thompson, Patrick Wilson, Ben Shenkman, Jeffrey Wright, Mary Louise Parker, Kirk and James Cromwell, among others. Written by and based on the Pulitzer Prize winning stage play by Tony Kushner. It is a epic 6-hour-ish miniseries, 6-episode miniseries. One that I've always liked. It is a long one to sit through, but again, it's episodic, so you can watch it in parts and episodes and stuff, so that helps. Although having said that, I do usually always watch this in one go. That's how much the story always grips me whenever I get back into it. I've watched this one a fair few times over the years. There's quite a lot to go into because there's a lot of characters, a lot of great actors. Like I said, there's a lot to cover here because this is definitely the biggest project that I've reviewed so far. I mean, Scarface, of course, is a 3-hour film. The Godfather movies are 3 hours. This is an extra 3 hours. So yeah, this might be a bit longer, this reviews, but we're gonna dive into it. So here we go, Angels in America from 2004. Reviewed by 11 Bronson. Here we go. The plot of this piece goes as follows. Set in New York City, the story takes place between October 1985 and February 1986. The story begins at a funeral, where an elderly rabbi eulogizes the deceased woman's entire generation of immigrants who risked their lives to build a community in the United States. Soon after, the deceased grandson, Louis, played by Ben Shenkman, learns that his lover Prior Walter, played by Justin Kirk, the last member of an old stock American family, has AIDS. As Prior's illness progresses, Louis becomes unable to cope and he abandons Prior during a health episode that lands him in a hospital. Prior is given emotional support by their friend Belize, played by Jeffrey Wright, a hospital nurse, who separately also deals with Louis' self-castigating guilt and myriad excuses for leaving Prior. Joe Pitt, played by Patrick Wilson, a Mormon Republican clerk in the same judge's office where Louis holds a word processing job, is offered a position in Washington, D.C. by his mentor, the McCarthyist lawyer and power broker, Roy Cohn, played by Al Pacino. Joe hesitates to accept due to his agoraphobic, Valium-addicted wife, Harper, played by Mary Louise Parker, who refuses to relocate. Feeling adrift and undesired by Joe, Harper retreats into drug-fueled escapist fantasies, including a dream where she crosses paths with Prior even though the two of them have never met in the real world. She confronts Joe about his deeply closeted homosexuality, which he views as a sin. Torn by pressure from Roy and a burgeoning infatuation with Louis, Joe drunkenly comes out to his conservative mother Hannah, played by Meryl Steeep, who reacts by changing the subject and hanging up the phone. Concerned for her son, she sells her house in Salt Lake City and travels to New York. After Joe confesses his homosexuality to a drug-addled Harper and leaves her, she flees their apartment and wanders the street of Brooklyn, believing that she's in Antarctica. Joe sets out to look for her, but follows Louis to Central Park where they tentatively begin an affair. Meanwhile, Roy Cohn discovers that he has advanced AIDS and is dying. Defiantly refusing to publicly admit he is gay or has AIDS, Roy instead declares he has liver cancer. Facing disbarment for misappropriating money from a client, Roy is determined to beat the case so he can die a lawyer in good standing, and he attempts to position Joe in the Department of Justice to ensure that the case is squashed. When Harper disappears and Joe refuses his offer, Roy flies into a rage and collapses in pain. As he awaits transport to the hospital, he is haunted by the ghost of Ethel Rosenberg, also played by Meryl Steeep, whom he prosecuted in her trial for espionage, and who was executed after Roy illegally lobbied the judge for the death penalty. Pryor begins to experience intense dreams and visions as his health worsens. He hears the voice of an angel, telling him to prepare for her arrival. A flaming book erupts from the floor during a medical checkup, and receives visits from the ghosts of 2 ancestral Pryor Walters, informing him that he is a divine prophet. Pryor does not know if these visitations are hallucinations caused by an emotional breakdown, or if they are real. One night, a glorious winged angel, played by Emma Thompson, crashes through Pryor's bedroom ceiling, addresses him as the prophet, and proclaims that the great work has begun. It's an epic story with many key players to the plot that are all perfectly casted and portrayed in this adaptation, in my opinion. Al Pacino does an absolute standout amazing job as a despicable real-life figure, Roy Cohn. His portrayal is absolutely mesmerizing here, and he's got plenty of scenes to shine, and he grabs every opportunity with both hands and just lets loose. His portrayal as a dying Roy Cohn as he's in the hospital scenes in the second half is absolutely haunting, and although his character is pure evil incarnated, Pacino makes you kind of feel for him in some way. As far as performance goes, this one would definitely make it into my top 10 Pacino performances all day long. Nothing shy of greatness here, and I'm not alone in that regard, as he did pick up the Emmy and the Golden Globe for this portrayal, very much deserved and rightly so. Another excellent performance by the legend, yet again. Meryl Steeep, who plays multiple roles in this, is of course fantastic as well. Her main 2 roles though, Hannah Pitt and the ghost of Ethel Rosenberg, is what I'll be focusing on here. As Hannah Pitt, she brilliantly portrays the conventional concerned and strict Mormon mother, and her scenes with both Mary Louise Parker and Patrick Wilson, as well as Justin Kirk as she gets sucked into the big picture of the story, are absolutely wonderful and beautifully portrayed by Steeep. Her turn as the ghost of Ethel Rosenberg though would definitely be my favorite of her roles in this. She's absolutely amazing as this ghost that's haunting Roy Cohn, taunting him and his condition, yet also in some way finding some kind of empathy and forgiveness for this man who essentially is the whole reason she's dead. Her scenes with Pacino are a sight to behold as the 2 acting legends go toe-to-toe with each other, and all in all, Steeep once more proves in this piece why she is considered, and for my money is, the greatest living actress of her time. All the roles she plays, and it's about 4 or 5 different characters to be fair, all feel unique, and she even straight up disappears in a few of them. Top-notch stuff. Emma Thompson, also playing multiple roles here, also does tremendous work as well. As both the angel that visits Justin Kirk's character a few times in the story, as well as being the hospital nurse who looks over his character as well, she does brilliant work here for sure. Another one of my personal favorite actresses and another standout in the story, that's for sure. Jeffrey Wright, who also plays multiple roles, definitely does not turn in any less of a performance, that's for sure. Another brilliant actor who I've enjoyed seeing in many films over the years and never disappoints. He does wonderfully in this one as Belize first and foremost, which is definitely the most important of his characters. And he also gets to share the screen with Pacino for a big chunk of it, and without doubt he holds his own. The scenes with Pacino in this one are again among some of my favorites, especially the scene where Wright's character gives a description of heaven to Pacino's. Definitely another highlight for sure. Patrick Wilson and Mary Louise Parker do more than solid jobs here too, with Mary Louise Parker being another particular highlight for me. She perfectly plays this pill-addicted, bored housewife, and every time she popped up in the story was yet another highlight. Wilson perfectly played the frustrated, closeted homosexual who has a tough moral dilemma going on. He was probably the character I ended up most rooting for in this, in hopes that there would be a happy ending for him. So yeah, once again, yet another fine performance. Ben Shenkman as Lewis is probably the only character that didn't do a whole lot for me, to be fair, but that's definitely not down to the acting, as I feel the performance is good enough just like everyone else here, but I just personally didn't like this character as much as I did the others. The way he just leaves Justin Kirk's character on a whim without too much thought, as they apparently had been in a committed relationship for a few years at this point, just didn't quite sit right with me. Fine performance, but the only weak link in terms of character for me, sorry to say. I will say a standout scene is without doubt the one where he confronts Patrick Wilson's character after finding out that he works for Roy Cohn. Justin Kirk, though, as kind of the big central character of the story, again does a fine job. The character of Pryor is a tragic one for sure, and I feel the performance is just excellent throughout. The scenes where he's hallucinating or experiencing in real time, the ghosts and angels etc. that come to visit him and whom he interacts with are brilliantly played for sure. Top-notch stuff, yet again. I also want to give mentions to some of the great supporting players in this, with especially James Cromwell as Roy Cohn's doctor, who has some great scenes with Pacino as well, and a brief but memorable role by the late great Sir Michael Gambon, who pops up as a ghost in this one. He was another delight to see. The whole story and scale feels so epic, especially in this 2-part 6-episode miniseries, perfectly staged and put on film by director Mike Nichols, who has given us many wonderful and fantastic films over the years for sure. A bit before his death in 2014, he did say out of all of his filmography, out of all of his works, he found Angels in America to be his magnum opus. And I would probably have to agree with him there actually. Fantastic job on directing this piece, that's for sure. Finally, I just want to mention a fantastic score by Thomas Newman, which perfectly complements every scene in this, and my god, that opening track alone. Chef's kiss, absolutely wonderful. To wrap up, this miniseries was received very positively indeed by audiences and critics at the time, and even today everyone's still mostly positive on it. As it's a miniseries for television, no box office numbers for this one, but it does hold a 90% critics rating and a 92% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and sits at a 8.1 on IMDb. Not too bad, but I personally give this one an 8.5 stars out of 10 myself. It's a epic and long watch, but the fact that you can divide up the viewing in episodes is definitely welcome. Although having said that, I usually do watch this whole thing in one go whenever I return to it, to be fair. Acting, directing, story, music and even special effects are all on point and top notch in this. Highly recommend for all to watch it haven't done so already. Definitely a magnum opus for Mike Nichols indeed, with a top 10 Pacino performance. And that's that. So there you guys have it. That was my review for the 2004 miniseries, HBO miniseries, Angels in America, which, like I said, for me this is an epic one. Pacino delivers a top 10 career performance for, in my opinion, as Roy Cohn. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Jeffrey Wright is fantastic. Mary Louise Parker, Patrick Wilson, Emma Thompson, and Meryl Steeep, of course. For God's sakes, Meryl Steeep, she can play anything. She plays like 5 different parts in this miniseries. She plays a Jewish rabbi. She plays a homeless tramp in New York. She plays, of course, the mother to Patrick Wilson's character. She plays Ethel Rosenberg. I mean, what a diverse actress, which she proves in this project alone, let alone her entire filmography, right? Emma Thompson, man, what a fantastic actress as well. She does amazing in this as well. She plays a hospital nurse with a New York accent. She plays the angel with a non-British accent, because of course, you know, Emma Thompson is British, but she doesn't have a British accent at all. No traces whatsoever in these performances. Justin Kirk is fantastic. Ben Shenkman, I think he does a great job, but again, the character itself of Lewis, I've never really cared too much about his character. Again, you know, I'm supposed to believe that, you know, him and Justin Kirk's character are in a committed relationship for quite a few years, and all of a sudden, I get it, AIDS is a scary thing. AIDS was a huge scary thing, especially back then, you know, when it was kind of new and stuff, right? I get it, but, you know, to break off a relationship to someone, you know, because of something like that, because of illness, I mean, what happened to For Better and Worse and stuff like that, so, you know. But again, I sort of get it, story perspective, but it's just, I never really was a big fan of his character. But again, I can't fault the performance. Performance is great. The music by the great Thomas Newman is divine and heavenly, angelic, pardon the pun, especially that opening theme. I can play that opening theme, you know, on a loop, you know, and just, it's so uplifting and so angelic once again. Yeah, performance is fantastic. Great writing and directing by Mike Nichols is fantastic. Now, Mike Nichols, I've seen a lot of films of Mike Nichols. You know, The Graduate is probably my favorite movie of his. Probably my favorite project right next to this. I love The Graduate with Dustin Hoffman and Catherine Ross and the great Anne Bancroft. I also love Carnal Knowledge with Jack Nicholson and Art Garfunkel. That's a great film as well. Great director, man. What can I say? He's a great director. And yeah, he did consider this his magnum opus, and I would have to give it to him. Yes, it is probably his magnum opus, yes. So yeah, everything in this film is just absolute everything in this miniseries is just fantastic, from production values to stage directing to acting to, you know, soundtrack to special effects. There's some CGI effect. I mean, Emma Thompson is just floating in the air here like an angel and stuff, and it looks wonderful. The special effects looks great. HBO definitely put a pretty penny in it, that's for sure. And yeah, definitely recommend this. I mean, there's this another project of Pacino's that also deals, of course, with a lot of gay elements. Another film like Cruising and A Dog Day Afternoon that deals with homosexuality and all that kind of stuff, and you know, LGBTQ and all that stuff. And it's a really great story. I mean, you know, Dog Day Afternoon worked fantastically. Nobody batted an eye that Pacino wasn't homosexual, robbing the bank to pay for his transgenders, lovers, you know, sex change operation. Cruising, again, that was controversial, but, you know, it's not all that bad, really. And yeah, this one, yeah, definitely doesn't hurt the story, because the whole story is built around that, and, you know, homosexuality and AIDS and the AIDS epidemic and the Reagan era and all that stuff. I think it's a fantastic story, epic story. So yeah, 8.5 stars out of 10 for me on this one. That concludes my thoughts and review on Angels in America. Join me next week, as always, for the next Pacino review, which is going to be, we're going to take it back to The Bard. We're going to go to William Shakespeare, as Pacino has starred in this live action, I guess, adaptation. Yeah, I guess that's, yeah. This movie adaptation of a William Shakespeare play, let's put it that way, of in 2004 as well. Pacino was busy in the early 2000s. That's quite a few films in the first few years there, but 2004's The Merchant of Venice is coming up next with Al Pacino, Jeremy Irons, Joseph Fiennes, and I forget who the woman is in this one. What's her name? Lynn Collins. So join me next week for The Merchant of Venice, where it's time for some more Shakespeare. This is, of course, where Al Pacino plays Shylock. You know, had not a Jew eyes, had not a Jew hands. If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? Some great Shakespeare dialogue coming out. As you can see, I'm practicing. Hey, I'm a Shakespearean actor. No, I'm far from it, but Al Pacino is, and we're going to take a look at that next week. So stay tuned for that. Here's a member shout out for Crushers Movies and Games. If you also would like to become a member, you can do so via the link in the description down below. But with all that having been said, stay safe and healthy and keep punching. And we'll see you next week for William Shakespeare's The Merchant in Venice from 2004, directed by Michael Radford. So stay tuned. Hooah! And I will see you next week.